Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's get going. Let's not mince our words here. Let's mince our pies. Mincemeat pies are fucking delicious. This episode of the Uncle fucking Me show, Uncle Who's a Face show, Uncle whatever the fuck you want to call me show, brought to you by Mincemeat Pies. Fucking, I'd eat 4 of them right now and not even fucking look back. Proud sponsors. Children, today, oh man, today I got a real good episode for you. Not one of those piece of shit episodes like so many others, but like this one, oh man, we're gonna talk about something that's very special to me today, kids. We're going to talk about one of my favorite X-Men. You know what the X-Men are? Where do we start here, right? Where do we start? We're going to be talking about another fictional character. I'm talking about so many fictional characters. It's what I think I can share with your little minds. Chamber is a fictional character from the Marvel comic books, the X-Men line. You know the X-Men? X-Men are mutants. They're a fictional superhero world where every once in a while people are born with crazy powers that kick in when they hit puberty. And they have the power to like control weather or shoot fucking force beams out of their eyes or be telekinetic or run incredibly fast, like any superpower you can imagine, and some really fucking crazy ones. And honestly, I think in many regards, Chamber is one of the crazier superhero X-Men mutant creations whoever were able to fucking grace the page, and I really like them. So let's talk about Chamber. So Chamber was created by Scott Lobdell and Chris Chris Bacalo, and he first appeared in the comic book Generation X #1. That was in September of 1994. 1994. Good lord. What is that? Like 37 years ago? It's fucking a long time ago, children. I don't have to tell you, it wasn't now, it was then, it was a long time ago. And Chamber, his real name is Jonathan Evan Starsmore. Everybody just calls him Jono, because that's what they thought would be cool. And he's a mutant. He's a mutant where he was disfigured by his powers. His powers involve having a ball of psionic energy within him, like a furnace of psionic energy, an explosion of psionic energy. And when his powers first manifested when he was a young man, it blew out the lower half of his face and the upper portion of his torso. Like just this fucking hole was torn open in him. Sometimes it seems like the hole goes all the way around and you see the back of his head just kind of floating on the fires, but it's hard to tell where that starts and stops. Some of it is just artistic license. And you gotta give comic books some artistic license, children. We're not fucking drawing pictures to represent history. We're doing interpretive pieces of art to just enjoy fucking looking at it. So just keep that shit in mind. But yeah, I love Chamber. He wears a cool fucking leather jacket where he fucking often has the collar up on it. And he's got fucking, like that kind of James Dean rockabilly haircut. Honestly, I have a personal pet theory. My personal pet theory is that Jonathan Starsmore, his design, is based on who the fuck am I trying to think of now? That Stuart Sutcliffe. Stuart Sutcliffe was, the band The Beatles? Well, before the Beatles were properly the Beatles, they were another band, and that band had Stuart Sutcliffe in it. He played bass. But he had a falling out or something happened. I watched the movie Backbeat, which is all about it when I was a kid a whole bunch of times. And I thought he was so fucking cool. Because he was super cool. You can look at pictures of him and he looks super cool. He's got what the British guys called the teddy boy look back then. Which is all just fucking like cool leather jackets and moosed up hair. And they're probably all pretentious phonies. But fucking whatever, man. It looked awesome. It was the fucking 40s or something. I don't know. 60s? When the fuck were the Beatles kids? Anyway, so they made this movie about him, and I just have always felt that fucking Chamber looks an awful lot like he does. Or like I see some of the design in there, and like whether or not it was intentional or like somebody just watched it and thought that. I don't know, man. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm just projecting. Maybe just fucking all fucking British dudes in leather jackets look the same to me and I should fucking get my eyeballs checked. Anyways, Chamber. He's got one of those funny British accents, you know. I'm not gonna fucking do it now. Bloody hell, mate! Let's have some fish and chips. Nope, that's Australian. What were we talking about? But he communicates psychically, so there is a bit of a like, why do you have a psychic accent? Like, what does that mean? What does that feel like inside your head that you hear these thoughts being transmitted in there? And he can't like control people. Like, it's just force. It's just a force energy. It's not like fucking, to my knowledge, he was never able to like use that power in a like psychic, oh, I'm gonna send you a psychic message or bullshit like that. He just has fucking, he can just fucking like throw people across the room with incredible force, and you never see them like burnt or anything like that. So I guess it's not a fire. You never see people like badly damaged. It's just like, well, it's a little bit like Flex Mentallo again, you know, where like you just kind of see him like flare up, and it's just a cool thing for the artist to draw, and like how representational that is, like why it is that he has psionic energy that affects people physically. Like, you would think they would just affect people emotionally, and it would be one of those like, oh, they think they're getting hit by a ball of fire, but in fact it's all just happening in their head and then they pass out. But fucking who's to say, man? Psionic energy, like telekinetic. He's like got a field of telekinetic energy inside of him. But again, he can't just like, I've never seen him just like fucking lift a pen or like fucking float a glass of water over to himself. Fucking Jean Grey can do shit like that, man. She does shit like that all the time. All sorts of mutant people with their fucking telepolatics fucking powers. So Chamber is mostly just a force character. And he's also a sad, tragic character because his body was disfigured by his awesome powers. Sometimes, man, fucking nobody, my favorite artist to see fucking draw him was the guy who created him, Chris Bacalo. He would draw them all like you could see the skin like cracking up and starting to peel underneath where the energy was at. It just looked so fucking rad. The first time I ever saw a picture of him, I thought it was a mustache. I didn't really, the lines were inked a little fucking dark, and they were so thick with lines that I thought he was like a biker dude with a big biker mustache. But then once the comic came out, it was like, oh no, he's a clean shaven 16-year-old, and he wears like fucking what looks like weird S&M type bondage fucking black leather straps when he has to go out around normal people, and he doesn't want to look like a mutant freak. He fucking wraps himself up in these black bandages that hide the fucking glowing powerhouse, the fucking psionic nuclear energy furnace that exists within him. Apparently you can just like, I just put on a t-shirt and a scarf. There we go. Now I'm just like normal people. And then he just has to pass himself off as just being sadly disfigured. Oh man, it's a pretty cool, you know. You got the impression that he was a real cool guy who had a real cool life before. I think his injury, when he first manifested his powers, he massively injured or maybe killed the girl he was dating at the time. I don't think he killed her because it's comic books, so people always get brought back. And like fucking, it's comic books, so a bunch of other shit happened where like he lost his powers and then he got his powers back and he had different powers for a little while. And I think at one point like they were gonna give him a belt that would run off of his powers and give him the ability to fly, but I don't know if they ever wound up doing that, which is too bad. It's a cool idea. It's I can see a lot of cool shit being done with that. But as well, like he was a, you know, one of those moody sort of characters who just like fucking sat alone and said really grim things. And in the first couple issues, you'd often see him just like standing alone out in the rain, looking all mysterious and cool. I bet it felt cool when the raindrops fell against the fire of his psionic force energy. There's some cool shit in there, man. Some of it wasn't really explored. I will fully admit that some of what I like about Chamber, like, when you really add it up, I think the best stuff with him is maybe in the first 5 or 6 issues of fucking Generation X. And, He only appears on like maybe a dozen pages throughout those. So some of what I think is really cool about him is obviously me projecting some, you know, like I see those pictures and I just daydream about that character. It's what I used to do. It's what you do with comic books, kids. It's why you get really interested in side characters. But then they also, for a while, like they did this thing where fucking The leader of the X-Men, the guy who brought all the X-Men together, that was Professor X, and his arch nemesis was Magneto. I'm just going to talk to you like you don't know this stuff, even though everybody knows this stuff. And then one day, Professor X's son, David Haller, he's known as Legion, he went back in time and he was like, man, I'm gonna stop Magneto before he could even become a problem to my dad, and that's how much I love my dad. And people were like, I don't think that's a very good idea. And he went and he did it. He tried to do it, but he messed up and he killed his dad instead. So Professor X died. Legion ceased to exist because his dad never existed to have him, but Professor X was already dead, so it didn't change that. And then fucking Apocalypse came out. He's this giant villain from the ancient past who tried to destroy the world, and he succeeded this time because Professor X wasn't there to hold him back. And basically, we got this alternate comic called Generation Next for 4 issues, and it was all about fucking it was about the same characters from the Generation X comic, except they were in this alternate post-apocalyptic reality. And in that one, Chamber still had his face. He just had this weird, like, psionic mechanization thing on his chest that helped him fucking focus his powers without having them destroy more of his body. So that was like, that was cool. We got to see Chamber's face. You know, you don't get to see his face in regular continuity. He lost his face, man, and I don't think they'll ever give it back to him. I mean, they probably did at one point, because that's what fucking comic books do. But at the same time, it's one of those things where, like, that's what makes Chamber what he is that his powers did this thing to him. They destroyed his ability to live a normal life, and he just wants that back now. He just wants to be who he was. And I mean, they should probably have more of him just like playing guitar and shit like that, and being of like, man, this is who I really am, not my fucking powers. Except he'd say it in a British accent. Aye, mate? No, that's still Australian. I don't have a British accent in my pocket ready to go. I'm not set up for this, kids. I'm just doing my best. I'm doing my best to educate and inform you. And fucking, so that's what else do you need to know about Chamber? He's a real cool guy. He fucking, I think at one point it was proven that he was fucking related to Apocalypse or some stupid shit like that. I don't care about that. I don't need none of that. Yeah. So yeah, Chamber. What do we know about his powers? What do we know about him? I'm looking at the fucking online write-up shit thing that's like, yeah, there's some things that suggest that he might be a being of pure psionic energy inhabiting a dead organic shell that he can disintegrate and reassemble by memory, sort of like Dr. Manhattan. That's a fucking cool idea. I'd like to, you could tell a story about that, man. And fucking, yeah, he doesn't eat, he doesn't breathe, he just fucks people up, man. He's just this fucking moody psionic force of energy, man. He's a cool character. He's he's got a bit of that fucking 90s goth kind of aesthetic to him. I got this little fucking toy of him where he wears a trench coat. I don't think he wears a trench coat in the comic book, but in the toy he does, and it looks real fucking cool, man. He's using his powers, and his fucking wind's blowing the coat back. He's fucking Chamber from Generation X, one of the X-Men. He was a student trying to learn from Banshee and the White Queen. They were members of the X-Men who became teachers to, well, I don't think White Queen was a member of the X-Men. She probably has been over the years. I mean, technically, if she's on Generation X, I feel like that makes her one of the X-Men. I mean, she's a mutant, and she's collecting a paycheck from the Xavier Institute. Anyways, kids, this has been another fleshing out episode of fucking comic book characters that I like fucking talking about, because I'm a fucking dumbass, nerdy piece of shit who likes talking about comic books. So thank you so much for being a part of this fucking wonderful show once more, and for learning about Chamber and the X-Men, and fucking go off and fucking look after yourselves and treat yourselves real nice, and try to eat a cookie or two. Are we done? Is that it? Are we ready to wrap this shit up? All right, good.
Oh yeah, that's all she wrote.